Hello, welcome. Thank you for
I gotta
joining.
go.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Nice to see everyone coming in here. Thank you for taking part in tonight's Women in the Bicycle Industry event. I'm Mason, I'm the president. We've been hosting these monthly women's events in order to inspire women in our industry. The intent of this interactive conversation is to unite us, bring people together, and a little bit of relatable experience that you can move forward with. Tonight's conversation is unique. We're inviting not just women, we're inviting the whole industry to join us in this really important conversation, as we have seen from our consumer research. More women in the sport, just excited to welcome, to keep them engaged. I have here Rochelle Scouten, who is the MBDA Development Director. Rochelle, anything tech-wise we should let all of our participants know before we move forward?
Yeah, we love to see people's faces. Hi, good to see everybody. And also, if you have something to add to the conversation, we would love to hear your thoughts or any anecdote you have about it, whatever. But if you're not talking, we ask that you mute in respect to the person who is talking. We also use the chat a lot on these, so if you don't want to, speak out loud, or if you want to say something while somebody else is talking, we love to see that in the chat. I think that's it.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, so definitely we want everyone to engage. If you have a thought, if you have a question, you can throw up the little hand, throw it into the chat. And we always love to bring a special friend of ours into the conversation. And tonight's special guest is someone that became my friend. Over the past couple of months of going to the CABDA shows, I was lucky enough to hang out with Lauren, and she joined us in a women's event, and we have kept very close since. So I want to introduce Lauren DiMartino. She is the North American sales lead at Kids Ride Shotgun. She has over 15 years experience in the outdoor industry. I mean, she was just telling us off air, several hundred of retailers, stores, working with Liv, and just her experience is very deep. Her commitment to the sport and the industry and empowering women through her knowledge and passion is just, you can tell it in every conversation, it's very evident. So I'm thrilled to welcome Lauren tonight to join me as our guest expert. Thanks, Lauren.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm really excited and honored to be here. So I really hope we have a great conversation tonight. And please join in the conversation, ask questions. I definitely love meeting all of you and hoping we can just get more people riding bikes, specifically women.
Yeah, so tonight's conversation is growing your retail business in the women's category. And we're going to touch on several things, from how you meet women just on your social presence, in your website presence online, to your staff, to even your store setup and your inventory selection. Before we jump in, Lauren, I thought as we move forward, we'll just vibe off of each other, but just a little bit deeper into your past. I spoke just briefly on it. Did you know justice at all, really? Just your current position and just a little bit more how you got into the bike industry.
Sure. So I fell in love with mountain biking many, many years ago. And I was a racer, and I really just enjoyed being outside and sort of sharing that passion. So years ago, I decided I wanted to make a career out of it. So I was racing, kind of traveling, and I stumbled upon Liv. So I joined the Liv team right when they were going from Giant for Women to the actual standalone brand with Liv. So with Liv, I drove a demo van full of 26 bikes, all around basically half of the United States. So from Minnesota to Texas, all the way east was my territory. So I definitely got to know a ton of amazing retailers. I saw how hard it is to run a successful business day in and day out. And I really got to meet a ton of ladies in the industry, consumers coming to these events. So that was sort of the, I'd say, start of my bike career. And then from there, I moved to Minneapolis and joined the team at QBP. I oversaw category sales for apparel and service and repair products. So then from there, I joined, I went back into retail, sort of boots on the ground retail store. So I was a general manager at Petal of Littleton for a little over 3 years. And just new in 2021, I joined the Kids Ride Shotgun team. So I'm the market lead for North America with Kids Ride Shotgun currently.
Such an awesome background. And, you say so like, I don't know, just like easily that you were running this live demo truck, but that's a hard job that requires maintenance, mechanic, organizing events, helping retailers. I mean, there's so much there. So that's a huge thing. So when we talked about tonight's topic, you were very quick to suggest growing your retail business in the women's category. Why is this so, close to your heart? Why is this such an important topic to you?
Sure. I think even to this day, it's a market that we haven't tapped fully into. So I think there's still a lot of parts of the business where we need to grow the business for women. And it's maybe not just mountain bike racers, but it can be, the whole thing. So I still see a lot of gaps. I still see a lot of opportunities, from product, from even, bike brands, and also then, finding really great staff to sort of grow that in the retail space as well.
It's staggering. The numbers from our consumer research say that within the past 2 years, the new cyclists or cyclists entering our sport, 55% are women, which is awesome. Yay. We've been doing so much, over the past multitude of years to do women-specific rides, women-specific sections within the store. I'm just thinking back to a conversation I had with Kaylee Kornhauser earlier in the year, talking about larger bodies on bikes and how we forget sometimes as retailers that the experience, our interaction with customers happens before they even come into the store. It's when they look on your website or they look on your social feed. Do you think that's applicable to reaching women as well? And just thinking about how we're connecting with cyclists or engaging with women cyclists before they even come to our store?
Absolutely. I think that the consumer is empowered, right? So they've already been to your website. They've already searched other retailers within 20 to 30 miles of where they live. So they've already checked and they've clicked on, okay, what bikes do they have? Do they have bikes for me? Do they have bikes for my family? They've probably just gotten an overall impression, even of the website. So are there cyclists that look like me, like a beginner, or, a mountain bike specific, triathletes, that sort of thing. So I think first impressions, they're definitely more empowered. They've already kind of shopped probably 2 or 3 times on your website before they even come into the store.
Any examples of shops that excel in reaching women or even beginner cyclists?
I think that we've come a really long way. So I think that any shops, there's not one that like rings a bell. I think everyone has done a really good job where there's at least a women's category, right? So they can click on women specific, they can filter it through. I think that, a lot of website development has come a long way too, where the retailer isn't on their own, just figuring out how to make their website more approachable.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of different, I mean, I go on like all of our members' social feeds. It's like kind of a fun habit of mine to see what's happening out there. And I love the shops that post, group rides or women specific events, and it makes it definitely very welcoming. I'm wondering, anyone in attendance, we have so many people on the call tonight. Anyone have an example of something you've done at your shop or something you're thinking about doing to enhance your marketing to women's cycling, maybe your online presence? Anyone have anything to share or even a question in this regard for Lauren? Wow. Crickets. Come on, I'm sure someone has something.
At BFF, we don't really have, we do women specific. A lot of our products are women specific. We're known as a women specific store. We do sell to men's stuff as well, but I don't know if it comes through in the website, but our goal is to make women feel comfortable coming into the store. We don't have an online presence. And so that was why BFF even started, was you're walking in the store and you just don't feel intimidated. You don't have a bunch of, rough looking guys behind the service counter. We have women mechanics, we have, so I think I think it comes across on our website, our main goal is to make women feel comfortable, even just coming into the store and asking the question. And we do get a lot of women who haven't been on a bike since they were like 10, you know, and the first thing they say is, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know, you know, and so, you know, we're able to explain it to them like woman to woman type thing. So I think that helps.
Good. I love that. And, you know, for everyone on the call, that's bffbikes.com. And there are certain things on your website. I have it pulled up right now. I mean, your opening page says meet the BFFs, and it's learn more about our staff here. And it's this awesome picture of you, of your staff members smiling. And even the font you use, I don't know, Lauren, is there something behind that? Like the font is just really, it's, I don't know, softer, I guess.
Yes. And I have had the pleasure of going to BFF Bikes, and she's right. It's very welcoming. I think even just the imagery online, maybe it's just not as aggressive. You know, I'm sure someone who is more of an expert in marketing can tell you like what colors and maybe what some fonts might just be a little less aggressive. So maybe not just for women, but just overall a little bit more welcoming and less intimidating.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to share of things they've tried on their social presence or on their website to encourage more women cyclists? I saw Brenda, you were speaking before.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of planning a women's night. So we haven't done it yet, but I just came on board with a bike shop. And so I am one of 2 women in the entire out of 3 shops. So we're really trying to not only get more women to even have some interest in applying and working for the shops. And I'm going to start working with NICA a little bit on all of that. But yeah, just having a women's clinic, I'm involving a lot of the women vendors and just partners in the community. We have our one female, she has done bike maintenance and, you know, minor bike repairs. So she feels comfortable teaching that. So that's what we're looking to do. And I mean, I was right on that. And we're actually looking to plan it in March for International Women's Day. You know, just kind of play off of that a little bit, but for sure, definitely looking to bring more of this into the shop.
Love that, Brenda. And I'm seeing some great things in the chat too. So if you're on, definitely read those chats. Let's go to just thinking about once we have women in the store. I mean, Lauren, you were telling us before we started that you've been in hundreds of stores. So thinking about shop decor, sections, segmentation, anything that can be done with shop design that could make it more welcoming and increase sales once women are in the store. Or let me rephrase that, because it doesn't always have to be about selling something, just make the experience better.
Yes. So every store obviously has its layout, and I don't want people to feel that they have to redesign the store and like invest all this money to make this glorious different approach to the store. So I think number one, just making a genuine effort and making a women's section is huge. Doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be 50% of the store, but there definitely needs to be a dedicated spot where when you walk in, when you're looking in your visual, you can see where it is. Like, oh, this is the women's section because I can see the women's apparel, the bikes, the helmets, it's all sort of together. You know, your space may not allow that, but just do the best you can with that space. I think that, you know, we're not expecting, you know, necessarily like a couch and lighting and everything kind of to the max. If you can do that, wonderful. I definitely think there needs to be still like men's and women's changing rooms or men's and women's restrooms. That is a challenge in some spots, so just make the best that you can. As far as the space too, you know, usually you've got your bikes there, and then, you know, think about sort of the visual, right? Where you've got your women's accessories and it looks nice and it looks inviting, and it is separate, definitely separate from the other parts of the store.
I'm thinking back to one of our P2 experiences that we had in Roanoke, Virginia. And I'm like the worst shopper in the world. Like I just don't shop, or what, I have a friend help me. I have no idea. And we walked into this store and they had it really set up really cool. And they had this mannequin with this really awesome outfit. And I'm like, wow, that is speaking to me right now. I wanted to buy everything on it, which is not a typical Heather experience. So I totally understand what you're saying. When you put it all together, and you can really get that visual effect it goes a long way.
Yeah, and we almost need to go back to where we learned when you walk into a store, you're not even certain what you might need, and they might maybe be too shy to ask. So having it there, and especially if you don't have all female staff, they're not probably going to want to talk about chamois and what they're for, and like, do you wear underwear or not? You know, there's kind of a lot of that going on too. So I think making it as easy as possible.
Yeah, I also was thinking about, when I went to this other retailer and all the shoes were in one spot, and it was very hard for me, and I'm in the industry, to determine, especially since now they're making a lot of shoes, I guess, unisex. I had no idea. It was hard for me to determine which one were the women's specific products. So I do tend to like it split up. Anyone on the call have anything that you're doing in the store that's unique with merchandising and segmentation, perhaps, or not, that they want to share? Karen, I saw you just come out.
Biting my tongue, because I know that my views on it are different than a lot of people's in the industry, but I own my shop. So when we built a new shop 5 years ago, and Specialized partnered with us and wanted to put a women's section in, and I got offended and upset by that. They said, well, where do you want the women's section? I said, this whole shop is a women's shop. It's my shop. The feedback that I've gotten from customers and from different opinions I've sought over those few years now have said it didn't just make it feel more comfortable for women the way you did it. It made it feel more comfortable for everyone, because my whole intention was to think about how I felt growing up in Chicago as a girl in the 80s, not feeling included. And how would I have wanted it? And then doing that in my store and with my group rides, and what I've done. And I had already a 9-year reputation of welcoming women with a weekly group ride and having different things. But the way I redesigned the store and intentionally not having a women's corner really translated to a whole lot of people, men and women, feeling a lot more comfortable in the space.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a big.
No, this is why we are doing these, right? We're sharing ideas, and I love it. I'm sure. Yeah, Lauren, what are your thoughts? It's like.
Yeah, I'll also say I know that's hard for a lot of shops to do. I'm just in a really lucky situation.
I think that it's amazing that you can own that space, and you're like, this is a shop, and this is my shop. And I still think it's not the majority. And so, I think maybe we should look at what you've been doing and try and find that for other stores in the best way possible. Yeah, it's awesome. I think, again, it's still maybe not the majority. And if these big bike brands are also still assuming that and like to make a women's corner, that's kind of where we need to start, right?
Yeah, this is such a dynamic conversation, because I go back when I was running the women's program at Bianchi, and the thought of starting a women's program, I remember sitting in the car with my dad one day outside the shop, outside of Goodale's in New Hampshire, and I was like, I can't start a women's program. I don't think we need women's rides. I think everyone needs to ride together. What am I doing? And I reluctantly just kept going, because that was what I was supposed, that's what I was supposed to do. And it actually, once I was into it, there's so many positive and negatives of everything you do, but everyone needs to be met in a different spot, right? So I think we have to figure out how we can meet everyone. And that's why this conversation is so awesome. Yeah, there's no right or no wrong, right? It's just how we can just engage the most people we can. Anyone else have anything they want to add that they're doing in their store to really set it up to be very welcoming to women when they come in, or welcoming to any cyclist when they come, if we want to just explore that a little bit more?
Well, I just opened my store a month ago after working 25 years in another business, another industry. And my plan was always to have a ladies section, fully stocked, well stocked. And having opened a store, I'm having trouble filling a ladies section. My store is big enough, it's 33,000 square feet plus, but having trouble just finding enough product.
Wow, Paul, that's a big question. I mean, Lauren, what are your thoughts on it? I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I guess that is a thing right now, right?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, inventory in general is an issue to fill the store. So getting creative. Yeah, I can't solve the supply chain mystery.
It's like, thanks for bringing that over to me. No, I'm just thinking, like, what could we do with that space? A lot of shops that were retailers are using extra space they have right now, if they have extra space, to invite yoga or to invite different classes or workshops into the space to fill it right now. But yeah, as far as filling a women's section specifically, Paul, I feel for you, but I do want to congratulate you on opening the store. I mean, that's a huge success. So we need to know more about that. I guess maybe Lauren, let's go over to staffing right now. So worst for me is when I walk into a shop and I'm already nervous about being there just to browse, and then I get like called to attention and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Any thoughts on how you can best train your staff to communicate with, I guess, anyone coming in the door or women's cyclists in general?
Yes. So I spent a ton of time in that role when I was with Petal of Littleton and sort of coaching along the staff. And again, it's maybe not necessarily just women, but it's overall that customer service experience. So making sure when they walk in the first 30 seconds or so, there's that eye contact, there's that genuine hello, like, how can I help you? And then, you know, it is when you start the sales process and you're qualifying the sale, like asking those questions and listening. I think sometimes we assume, right? Oh, well, this person's only going to be in here to buy this, you know, X amount dollar bike, or, you know, we sort of sometimes undersell or make assumptions, which has happened to me too on the other side, where they're like, may I speak to your manager? And I'm like, yeah, hi, that's me. And it happens all the time, and you try not to get offended and you just work through it. So I think as far as staff goes, number one, so, you know, train your staff to treat everyone with respect, no, you know, inappropriate jokes, no assumptions. You know, we've had instances where maybe, you know, it's a male dominated shop and they're trying to ask for the girl's phone number, which is extremely inappropriate and not good customer service. So just having that high level of standards for your staff. And then it kind of goes into then number two, understanding the women's product. Right. So we have to understand if it's a Cannondale, like what makes the women's specific Cannondale versus the Yeti versus the Santa Cruz, like understanding the product and being able to speak to it.
Yeah, that is huge. And I was looking in the chat function, Stacy put this great idea of, they had a kids playroom. I love the idea of like when you're in shopping, if there's an area set up with like a chalkboard or whatnot. Thinking on staff, it does make a big difference to have people who are educated and knowledgeable and can communicate effectively with the people, with everyone coming in, with the riders coming in. Anyone have anything that they've done with their staff just to keep this being an interactive conversation? That, oh, Stacy, thanks. Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm adamant about with my staff, and even with my partner, is that when someone comes in, we make sure we don't speak in bike shop speak. So you don't talk about the rear or front derailleurs, or, you know, you almost dumb it down unless someone kind of like has that reaction that they know what they're talking about, or they've been in it before. And certainly when we're selling bikes, you know, a lot of times someone sees that super skinny tire that's really like a 747, and like mind blowing to us because that's huge, you know. And so but I've been super adamant, not just to the women either, you know. And you get those guys that come in and they don't know anything about bikes, and when you start talking about the rear cassette and then you get that blank stare, oh yeah, it's the gears back there. I'm very adamant about not necessarily using the right nomenclature until we've explained what it is and that's what it's called. And that eases a lot of tension too when you're talking about the repairs and what they end up costing and how it's all working out and why it is so much or isn't so much, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's an excellent comment. Yeah, anyone else have any thoughts based off that they want to just continue forward here? Gillian?
Yeah, I mean, our staff, we try to, no matter whether or not they're buying or not, try to educate, because we do get a lot of first-time buyers, educate them, on what to look for in a bike. So, even if they do go to trek down the street, I try to tell them what to look for, like, this is, this, look at what group set you're getting, or does it have hydraulic or mechanical brakes? These are the things that will, because I think a lot of women and men can be confused about what causes a bike to be $500 versus $1,000. So I try to explain to them, exactly what that means, and then so they can go away and compare, the bike that they saw at my shop versus the one. And a lot of people tend to go away saying, this has been very helpful, I'm so glad I came in, versus just shopping online and not knowing what you're looking at. So I feel like we get a lot of that.
That's so true. I'm feeling like a lot of the conversation is like stuff we can just take as general, like good tips for humans. Like if we actually look at someone coming into our store and we, as Lauren said, eye contact, greet them when they come in right away, and actually present ourselves in the best, actually looking to help and make someone's journey better into cycling, we're going to be well better off than we were, if we're not acting that way. It's just like good human nature. Lauren, thinking about like staffing, that seems to be the number one question we have coming up. Like, how do I hire, maintain good staff? And if retailers want to have a woman on the staff, any thoughts there for bringing more women into your staff mix?
Yes, so I'm sure a lot of other ladies in this group have tips too. So I'd love to hear that. But some of the things I did is I wrote a job description to actually hire someone to help grow the women's category, right? So I would love to hire someone to help do group rides, events, help with even just keeping merchandise and just overall owning that women's category. I think, finding women in your community, whether it's someone who's on a race team or, just someone who's super friendly and always in the shop. They don't have to be obviously super pro as far as, bike lingo. I think investing in maybe females who are customer service dialed and maybe just need a little coaching as far as the technical aspects go. We all learned, right? And so we can learn. Some other things, reaching out to community colleges and trying to do internships. Liv was really great because they were such a huge, global brand, starting those ambassador programs, sort of, any sort of events where you can welcome women and maybe see if they might want a part-time job.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah, I remember reaching out to the women, so some people in our store didn't even know that didn't even know it was an opportunity or even, a thing that they could work at the store. And I'm like, oh my God, we would love you. So, And as Lauren said, she's sure, and I'm sure too, that some of the retailers on the call right now might have some thoughts about this. Anyone have any ideas or thoughts that you've done that have been successful? Laura?
We work with our local school district, and the tech ed or the engineering teachers will oftentimes send young women our way who maybe as an adult, like right now we have a girl, she wants to be an airplane mechanic. So she's been working with us all through high school to just be handy with tools and understand like being a technically minded person, which is kind of cool because they stay with us for 3 years and then we have them back every summer. So it doesn't always cultivate like a long-term full-time employee, but it kind of helps us just stay in touch with some of the younger girls. I have trouble finding like a female adult, but the high school kids have been pretty easy for us to bring on as females.
I love that. Yeah, I'm thinking about like NICA program that is in my community, and that's a good resource. What about old, I guess like more adult aged women? Anyone have had success there? Yeah, it's a hard one. I know.
My input, and again, it's not easy. I'm in a different situation maybe than a lot of shops, but after a year owning my shop, made a real conscious decision to stop hiring for type. And really looking outside of the industry. The employees in the beginning that I had the most problems with, no offense to all of you on this call in the bike industry, were people with the most industry experience. Hands down, my most difficult employees, racers and bike mechanics. So finding a person with the right personality and the right aptitude and training based on their strengths has been really, really beneficial for me. And then we talk about, I heard someone say something about, looking at someone customer service oriented. Like, in what other industry would you ever hire anyone for sales if they didn't have customer service orientation, even if they did know anything about bikes? I don't care if you don't know anything about customer service. I don't want you on my sales floor, even if you are an amazing Olympian athlete. So that was for me, and stop hiring for type. My best employee, who is a 40-some-year-old woman, hands down sells more than any man that's ever worked for me, was a lunch lady for 18 years before I hired her. So.
Exactly.
I'm loving this conversation, and I'm loving all the conversation in the chat. Thank you guys so much. I'm just like trying to read that and listen at the same time. It's so great. And I have had some conversations with retailers who have gone into other stores. And right now the store in my mind is Lush, only because my friend Amos, who's on the call, sent me some really cool Lush products if you haven't used it. But I've had retailers go into other stores, and if they're working with someone who's exceptional, hand them their business card and say, like, I own a shop, or I manage a shop. We'd love to have you. So that's an idea as well. Lauren, any other thoughts in this category before we move to the next kind of section?
I just think this is a very important section that maybe we should digest further. Especially right now, everyone is struggling trying to find people to hire. So I think this could be a huge movement in a different way.
Yeah. And I see Monica, I saw your hand up. I'm so sorry. I just saw you now.
Hi, I'm Monica. I live in Colombia, so in South America, but I'm really into these women's things because I started Bike Girls years ago, and now we're 27,000 girls riding bikes around the world. So for me, a good experience is I've been working with different stores, like here in Colombia, in Brazil, in Ecuador, and in the US, more in Florida and in California than other places. But what I've seen in the stores, what it works is like to be really consistent with the things and open that, because when you want to start to ride a bike, I started when I was 30, so I didn't know how to ride a bike. And for me, it was like a huge, like it was really scary, and I didn't know what to ask, and I didn't want to feel dumb or stupid asking something that I really didn't know what to do. And when I got to a store, they were start talking about something really technical, like, oh yes, do you want this Shimano Durace? And I was like, no, I just want the purple bike. That's it. I just want a cute bike that it matches my outfit. So what I've seen is that it's really good to find a person that like what you were saying. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl or a man or a woman. It's more like they can reach to the girl and really find out what are we looking for, like, if I'm starting, I just don't want to buy. They try to sell me like this helmet, like an S-Works helmet, and I'm like, I don't want to spend that much money. I don't have that much money to start with. So I think it's really good to teach the personal, or I'm sorry, my English is not very good, but I'm trying because it's Spanish, my main language. So it's just to the staff. Yeah, here somebody's helping me. The staff is just to teach the staff how to close that gap between the knowledge and what the girl wants to know. And start with changing the flat tire and all those things. Even though one girl goes to that, just keep doing it. The first time is going to go one, and then maybe two and three. So I think it's just to simple things up. And I've been doing this for 6 years or 7 years in different stores. And then I can see we've been doing rides. I did one big ride, 1,500 girls went to the first Gran Fondo, a women's Gran Fondo here in Bogota, and they came from 12 different countries. So it's a huge thing, just to feel that you are part of something that is yours, that you can share with your husband, with your brother, with your kids, but it's yours. We also put this, ¿cómo se dice? Guardería de hombres. Sorry, it's my English. I'm sorry. Like again, kindergarten for the men. And we put like barber shops, and we put, so it was like, we're gonna ride with our Gran Fondo. So you guys stay here. You have your TVs, your game, you can play video games, your barbershop, but it's our stuff. So you're part of it, but it's my thing. And I think it's been working. Like I told you, I think it's 27,000. We are in a group all over the world, and it worked. So I'm sorry if it's out of, my English is not good, but you got it.
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah, having intent and purpose, and when we say, okay, my retail business is going to focus on doing this, and then we say, how are we going to get there? Maybe it's a dedicated post a week, maybe it's 5 dedicated posts a week, maybe it's that we have a certain mindset and we're going to educate our staff, we're going to get the whole culture behind it. Once you put intention, purpose, you can go somewhere, but you have to set that up first. I love that. I just put in the chat, Monica, maybe you can share your website information, because people were asking for it. They were like, whoa, I want to know more. Lauren, anything else here? I know we could probably spend a while just around this one topic.
I think, are we diving into events next, or what's the next?
I think we should just get into maybe the value, or, do we need, we had a whole conversation in a prior meeting just around the value or need of women specific bikes. Do we need women specific bikes, gloves, shoes? Out of that conversation, we determined that we need both, and maybe some work better for other people than, we need both based on body type, based on what your needs are. But as far as a retailer stocking strategy, anything about how we ensure we have the right product mix? It's a big one.
I think when you make your apparel decisions, you're working almost like 6 months to a year ahead. If not now, this is more than a year ahead. So kind of doing the same dedication and product selection that you would to anything else, right? So product planning. So you usually like have your bikes, and then you plan sort of like your apparel according, if you're a store that's more mountain bike heavy or road bike heavy. So doing the best you can in picking, a selection for both men and women. At my time, just kind of dabbling in apparel, it's really hard to pick colors. It's really hard to pick the exact size run. So with that, it's kind of, looking at, what you've sold through and sort of making those adjustments. I think obviously we all sort of know this by now, but making sure you have all sizes, right? I love the comments I read that, having mannequins that are real life size. I think, and making sure you have sizes in your shoes, big and small, for men and women. Even if it's just a few, just making that effort, I think goes a really long way. And I think, that'll also beat some of the online competition as well, if you have it in stock.
That's great feedback. Janine, I see your hand up too, so I wanted to make sure I gave you a chance.
I'm a female bike fitter, and so I have frequently gotten clients who have not had the best experiences in bike shops, because most of them are run by men. And so, like you said, women don't necessarily, especially if they're beginners, don't feel comfortable talking about chamois, let alone saddle pain, saddle sores, soft tissue pain, numbness, tingling, things like that. Guys don't feel comfortable either talking to women about their genital areas. And so part of it, both male and female, in either direction, is the professionalism of the staff, being able to use appropriate language and not use a bunch of slang where people feel like they're either not being taken seriously, or that the sales staff or mechanics or fitters are extremely uncomfortable and awkward talking about it. And so a lot of times they just won't ever mention it because it just seems too awkward or out of place, or nobody knows how to have that conversation. So training shop staff on how to discuss those topics appropriately with both genders. Because there's a lot of people who don't want to talk to me about their saddle discomfort. Hello, puppy. And so that's one of the biggest things I see is the trend for, and like you said, just the language that are used from the shop staff talking down to people with using all the appropriate terminology. We've gotten a lot of critique on our social media posts about using words like bike seats and different things like that. And mechanics and some of the race snobs are like, it's a saddle, you should call it that. And it's like, until they know what we're talking about, they're not going to even have the conversation. So like you said, just not making assumptions, I think, would be the big thing, but basically body awareness conversations that need to be learned to be had by male and female staff for both directions.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we can there's so many things we can get into right now. I'm just like, and I'm reading the chats and I'm just thinking, I want to pull it back and narrow it down a little bit. You know, part of the hard part of being a retail buyer is doing just what you said, Lauren, choosing the right color or choosing the right shorts or the right brand. How do we do that? Like, do we ask our staff members to look at the colors with us? Is it too bold and crazy to have like a night and ask your women's community to come in and like help you choose the fall collection colors to stock? Like, how can we maybe get our customers involved and help us make good decisions? Any thoughts there?
Sure. I have two thoughts on that. And just circling back quickly to what she was just saying about using anatomically correct words and calling a bike seat a saddle. I've had a lot of luck doing like a women's night where you introduce those concepts and you have that learning for them. And then it sort of leads into a lot of bike fitting. It leads into them coming back to the store. So if you have an event where it's just like introduction to cycling, learn about the ins and outs of your bike and maybe the basics to feeling comfortable on your bike. So that's backing up to that one. But as far as choosing apparel, some things, you can rely on your clothing brand company, right? So for example, we had a really great working relationship with Pearl Izumi. And so, our rep would bring in samples and we would have a ladies' night where they could see the products and they could help you select that. Apparel is one of those things, maybe some retailers are scared of committing to it. So I think just trying something and having that, just trying something, having it there, some of those clothing brands, they do have like trade in, right? So if you don't sell through it, you can trade it out for some newer product that comes in if you don't sell it through. Trying to think of anything else. Definitely show your staff. So it's kind of fun too, if you're doing custom jerseys for the store, bring in samples, bring in artwork and have them vote. You can put on your social media and kind of make a fun, poll on Instagram, like which shirt do you like? And you can do pre-orders that way as well. So there's little wins you can try.
I love those ideas, like throw it out on social media and get like a little poll going. Awesome suggestion. And the other thing I would add here, just as being a female cyclist who loves really great gear is, don't always stick to the lowest stocking SKU or the entry level. I mean, always have the good, better, best, or excellent as well, because that is a big thing I've seen shops do, is not carry the most premium product. And that just takes you out of the women's market altogether, in my opinion. So make sure you do that. I see Lauren's shaking her head, so you're with me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to events. So thinking of ways we can connect with our community, keep cyclists engaged, thoughts about hosting women specific events, or even, events that are open to mixed genders. Lauren.
So I love doing events and I love connecting with the community that way. And I saw a comment in the chat before, commit to it, right? So stick to it, commit to it. maybe try to make a schedule for the next like 3 to 6 months of what you would like to do. So if it's more like intro to, or how to fix a flat, like a fix a flat clinic, you know, sort of making the schedule probably no more than one a month, right? And then putting it on social media, having an actual registration, you know, having an outline with what you're going to cover, sort of asking and covering those questions where someone who's on the fence, like, should I come to this? What will I walk away with? You know, I think is really helpful. I think some events that I've had success with are weekday events. You know, generally Tuesday through Thursday are a little bit easier to attend, like after work or after school. You know, having like a women's series, you know, and we've actually charged a little bit sometimes, you know, to bring in experts or to provide something to go home with. So, you know, if they walk away with a multi-tool and, you know, some chain loops, they understand like the difference between wet lube and dry lube and what they're for, and just teaching them how to apply it, that sort of thing. I think, you know, sticking to it and committing to it is number one. And then, you know, just being thorough. And so having an agenda and making sure you cover those topics. And then invite your bike brands to join, invite the bike brands or your clothing brands to, you know, donate, you know, a prize or a raffle. You don't necessarily have to discount or anything, but just have something there for them. That's for them, like special for that night.
So many great nuggets in there with frequency, nights of the week that are better. And then I see some chat about charging. You know, it makes people feel like they, you know, are committed to something. And I love the feedback of contacting your brands, because I know several brands are like, we want to engage with retailers and ultimately engage with customers. If anyone has any events you've hosted that have really had a great turnout or really positively affect your community, please put them in the chat and share just your thoughts and ideas about those. Lauren, just thoughts on, you know, we want to say women specific. Do they necessarily need to be women specific, and what happens if we do, and then, you know, a couple guys show up? What do we do? I mean, that's always a weird thing, right? Thoughts there?
Yes. So in my experience with Live, I've had many different events, and just typically speaking, you're going to have the most genuine, open, less intimidation if you keep it just women only. You know, maybe you can have like a social happy hour where it's everybody all together, but then it's like just a ladies only fix a flat. In general, like a lot of women, maybe even beginners, maybe not just women, but they won't raise their hand. They won't ask questions. They won't necessarily contribute if it's a bigger group.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to like not getting the power of a women specific event, like not personally understanding it until we did it, and then being like, wow, I've seen people open up that I've never seen before or experienced before because it was women's only. So there's definitely value there.
And, you know, I had an event where it was a women's specific only event, and then men showed up in dresses and wigs, sort of like making fun of the event. It was, yeah, I was pretty surprised.
Well, I guess there's always someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
Again, these are just ideas and thoughts, and, you know, obviously we can all have our own, you know, ideas that work for our community. So this is not on broad scale. Do what works best for you. These are just some ideas that Lauren and I have from our experience. Lauren, other ideas to generate a strong women's cycling community, maybe thinking ambassadors or partnering with other local businesses like salons or fitness centers. Any thoughts?
For sure. I think partnering with just other local businesses is a great idea. You know, I think that yoga for cyclists goes pretty well, whether it's women specific or all. And, you know, inviting your local community, if it is nutritionists, if it is physical therapy, yeah, you can think outside the box. And, you know, if it's like family events, like if you have an event at your store, like think about if you have like an anniversary sale every year, anniversary event, you know, like make it more inviting, make it more for families, make it for women as well. So kind of thinking outside the box, and you just never know who would like to join in and who has a lot of things to offer.
Yeah, I think doing like unique things, you know, instead of just like the same thing that's been done before, doing something really unique to your community and your staff. And I would ask your staff members too for ideas too. What about ambassadors, Lauren? This is something that I know a lot of people struggle, a lot of retailers struggle with. Do we bring ambassadors on? If we do, you know, how do we work best with them? Do you have any experience in this?
So the Live program had an ambassador program, and then at our store we did do an ambassador program, and the concept was that it actually, instead of having racers, right, instead of having a race team and having racers sort of be the shop representative, we would actually like to hire ambassadors in the community who are out for recreational rides, who will stop for someone who has a flat tire, who will, you know, sort of serve in that way. So I think that's a huge opportunity. The challenge is, you know, usually you would perhaps provide a bike at a discount or some sort of trade or compensation. So I'm not sure in this state how that will work exactly. So I highly recommend maybe shifting the focus from having a racer be the representative to maybe more of an ambassador.
Yeah, definitely. With our women's cycling club, and I know Melanie's on the call here and Brenda is part of it too. We had just everyday awesome humans who love cycling that weren't necessarily winning races, but just maybe winning in their own personal regard as our ambassadors. And it really helped us grow the women's community. I saw a shop once do like a paint and sip night where it was in the bike shop and they set up painting supplies, and that brought in people into the store that weren't even weren't even in the sport yet. So just thinking outside the box, like Lauren said. Lauren, I can't believe it's already almost been an hour. Like what, like this went too fast. Anything else that you have there, or just like that I didn't ask you about that was on your list that you wanted to make sure to bring up tonight?
No, I think that covers it. And it's been such an awesome experience to see everybody and to hear all the chats. I mean, I think this is a topic and I'm glad that we're doing this. So I'm glad I could be here, and I'm open to messages or connecting with everybody. That would be great.
Awesome. I'll throw your email in the chat. Anyone have any other questions while we have everyone on, or anything that you wanted to share? Anything that you're struggling right now with? We have, about 10 minutes left. We can definitely open this up a little bit and answer anything. Karen, were you? Yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to share. I've been doing it a long time, so I struggle to come up with new things, but something I did recently, we have a huge, which I would think that a lot of other communities have, we have a huge cycling club in our area that's been around for a long time. And I happen to know one of the women that's gotten really involved in that club, and they do have a decent women's contingent right now. That isn't necessarily involved in other things. I offered to have one of my mechanics do a women's only night for like maintenance and Q&A and changing a flat for the women that are involved in that club that weren't necessarily involved in other ways with things that I had going on. So they all, as members of that club, got together, and I heard them saying all these things about how the guys always do this stuff and the guys don't, show them how to change their flat. They just do it for them, or the guys this or the guys that. So we invited them in, and there ended up being like 12 of them that came that I wasn't even aware of. And we did their so now all these women went back into the community, into their club that's a decent contingent in our community, and they were empowered. And so that was something that I hadn't really thought of, because I thought I was already reaching a lot of these people, or they knew who I was just from what I had been doing, but offering to kind of meet them where they were and do something for them. We did this just last year, and I'm amazed at what that has kind of brought into our community and how it's kind of empowered them to take that back out there.
I love that idea. Connecting with local groups is a huge thing and can be really empowering once you get connected with the right people. This is there's so many. I love this topic. Anything else? Anyone else have any thoughts on what Karen just said, or anything else they wanted to share too? Just in response to what she said. Lauren, you're just unmiked, or did you have something to add?
I'm still here. I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you took your mic off to say something. I just put Lauren's email into the chat as well, at Kids Ride Shotgun. Anyone else have anything to add before we get off? It was great to meet everyone tonight and see everyone again. Awesome. So we will have a recording of tonight on the MBDA website and our YouTube channel probably tomorrow. Rochelle, thank you for being our tech wizard tonight and making sure that this was executed properly. Lauren, thank you for joining. If anyone has any topics for the future or wants to come lend as our guest expert, reach out to me at heather@mbda.com. More women into our sport, which is awesome. Now it's our job, our responsibility to go back and keep everyone engaged and bring more just cyclists overall into the sport. If there's anything you're doing that's really awesome, please share it with us. You can even come on our podcast. We would love to, illuminate that so we can help each other learn from what everyone is doing. But have a nice night. Go out and grab the rest of Tuesday and everything it has to bring. And thanks for being here again. And we hope you come back and join us next time. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.